And welcome to the final round of the Guam High School mock trial competition for the year 2025-2026. And we are ready with Team E as prosecution versus Team G as our defense. So good luck to our competitors this evening. And at this time, the bailiff will call us to order.
All rise and come to order. Court is now in session. The District Court of Idaho for Casco County is now presiding. The Honorable Chief Justice Robert Torres is presiding, along with Associate Justice F. Philip Carbolito and Associate Justice Catherine Merriman.
You may be seated.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Good evening and welcome to the Vanessa Lujan courtroom. It's a pleasure for Justice Merriman, Justice Carbolito, and myself to be here to judge the finals of the Guam High School mock trial competition for 2025-2026. Just a couple of housekeeping matters. Please make sure everyone turns off any electronic devices or put them on silent. Also, please try to minimize leaving the courtroom, spectators, while the trial is ongoing. There will be opportunity for a break after the prosecution's case in chief, and then again after the defense's case in chief. So you'll have an opportunity to be able to go out and do that. The parties have agreed to have all the witnesses sworn in collectively. So before we do that, we'll ask each of the teams to please introduce themselves. We'll start with the prosecution.
Good evening, Your Honors. My name is Ta'al Wuchu, representing the state. I'll be conducting the opening statements, the direct examination of Rowan McGee, as well as the cross-examination of Tully O'Malley. Alongside me are my co-counsel.
Good evening, Your Honors. My name is Abigail Alvarez. I will be conducting the direct examination of Mr. Garcia and the cross-examination of Samir Smith.
Good evening, Your Honors. My name is Micah Imbat, and I'll be conducting the direct examination for Francis Magumbo, the cross-examination of Jesse O'Malley, as well as closing arguments. And here are our witnesses.
Good evening, Your Honors. My name is Bea Bass, and I will be portraying the role of Rowan McGee.
Good evening, Your Honors. My name is Chloe Conception, and I'll be portraying Mystic Garcia.
Good evening, Your Honors. My name is Mitch Vergara, and I'll be portraying the character Francis Magumbo. And joining us today is our bailiff and timekeeper.
Good evening, Your Honor. My name is Jordan Kalimlim, and I'll be your bailiff today.
Good evening, Your Honors. My name is Shonda Augustine, and I'll be Team East timekeeper today.
Thank you, prosecution. And can we get the team rosters, please?
Yes, Your Honor. Your Honor, if you can approach the bench.
You may. All right, for the defense.
Good evening, Your Honors. My name is Adam Turbio, and I am one of the lead attorneys representing the defendant, Jesse James O'Malley. To my right is one of my co-counsels, Mr. Rylan O'Connor.
Good evening, Your Honors.
And to my left, my other co-counsel, Mr. Josiah Rages.
Good evening, Your Honors.
And as the defense, we will be calling 3 witnesses to the stand. We have Mr. Tully O'Malley.
Good evening, Your Honors. My name is Gio Yunessa.
Detective Samir Slade.
Good evening, Your Honors. My name is Maddie O'Connor.
And lastly, the defendant, Jesse James O'Malley.
Good evening, Your Honors. My name is Stephen Serban.
And at the front, we have our timekeeper, Mr. Shane Kamaganaka.
Good evening, Your Honors.
Thank you, Your Honors. The defense is ready to proceed.
All right, thank you. You may be seated. I also wanted to note that this match will be live streamed as well on the Judiciary's YouTube channel. So you'll be able to go back after the trial is over to be able to look at the trial from start to finish.
Your Honor.
Yes, FD's team roster, please.
Thank you, Your Honor.
All right, we'll now ask all of the witnesses to please rise so we can do a collective swearing in of the witnesses. Are we prepared? All right, please administer the oath.
All witnesses, please rise and raise your right hand. Do you promise that the testimony you are about to give will faithfully and truthfully conform to the facts and rules of the mock trial competition?
I do.
I do.
You may be seated. Is the prosecution prepared to proceed with their case in chief?
Yes, Your Honor.
You may call your first witness or give your opening arguments. I'm sorry.
Your Honors, may I proceed?
You may.
May it please the court, counsel, and Your Honors. Today's case is about greed, a starting point that grew slowly and deliberately. It turned a brother into a rival, a life into a price tag, and it drove Jesse O'Malley, the defendant, to plan the murder of his own brother. It drove resentment to become motive into a plan, and that plan ended with a hired killer and a dead brother. Let's start from the beginning. The defendant, Jesse O'Malley, fresh out of law school and burdened with debt, decided to move back to Burley, Idaho, in which he would stay with his parents. He'd work at Doyle's Pub to try and pay off that debt. But on the night of March 17th, 2017, the night of their mother's wake, Jesse would learn that he had been removed as the sole executor of the will, leaving Declan in charge of a $12 million estate. And when the defendant learned that Declan wasn't going to sell that farm, he decided that Declan needed to be gone. And so he started a plan, one with Mystic Garcia, in which he would pay Mystic a total of $150,000 in order to murder his brother. They'd planned this over the course of 8 long months, and finally on the night of November 25th, 2017, Mystic would enter Declan's home through an open window that the defendant left behind. They'd use a weapon the defendant provided. She took aim, she fired at Declan, and she missed, sparking a struggle between the two. Eventually, it ended with Declan being shot in the shoulder and pushed out an open window. Your Honors, this wasn't a moment of rage. It wasn't impulsive. It was a step-by-step, deliberate and calculated plan. It was Jesse O'Malley's plan. We, the state, have charged Jesse O'Malley with aiding and abetting first-degree murder. And we have the burden of proving beyond a reasonable doubt that between March 17, 2017 and November 26, 2017, in Cassia County, Burley, Idaho, the defendant had the intention to hire another person with the intent to assist in the willful, deliberate, and premeditated murder of Declan O'Malley. And we will more than meet our burden with the testimony of 3 key witnesses. Our first witness, Rowan McGee. She'll tell you how she had found Declan's body. She witnessed the threats made by the defendant, and she had her own personal investigations through her podcast. Our next witness, Mystic Garcia, the hired killer. She'll tell you how she had been involved in the plan, how she had received payments from the defendant, and how Jesse was involved in every step of the way. Our final witness will come up to that witness stand, Detective Frances Magumbo, who will not only walk you through her investigations, she'll tell you about the interview she conducted and how she managed to link the defendant as the one to fund the murder. Your Honors, throughout the course of this trial, or maybe even in a moment, the defense will come up here today and they'll try to tell you Jesse wasn't the one to do it. There's no way he would have went against his own brother. I want you to remember just a couple things. Jesse may not have been the one to shoot Declan, nor were they the ones to push him out the open window. But Jesse funded, planned, and enabled that murder. And under our law, that makes the defendant just as guilty. And so we ask you to return a verdict that not just the people, but Declan O'Malley deserve. A verdict that Jesse O'Malley is guilty beyond a reasonable doubt of aiding and abetting to first-degree murder of Declan O'Malley. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. For the defense, opening statement.
Yes, Your Honor. May I proceed?
Yes.
May it please the court, Your Honors, counsel, and ladies and gentlemen of the jury. Mystic Garcia confessed to the killing of Declan O'Malley. But something she included in her confession was lies about my client. That's what this case is about. Lies. Lies that were made by Mystic Garcia into a masterpiece. Today we are here because of the death of a man named Declan O'Malley, a brother, son, and heir to his family farm. His death was a devastating tragedy, an unimaginable loss that no one should ever have to endure. But we must remember that his death will not go in vain, and that his killer is already in custody. She is the one bringing charges against my client, Jess O'Malley, the brother of Declan, and someone who had grown up with him his entire life. And now he's facing the nightmare of being falsely accused of something he never did, all because of ruses and lies made by Mystic Garcia. On November 25th, 2017, Declan was at home, asleep, unknowing of his fate, when Mystic and Mystic alone broke into his home and ended his life, while Jess and Tully were away at Duenas. Today, you will hear from numerous eyewitnesses that Mystic was present at Declan's home the night of the murder, and the evidence will show that Mystic entered Declan's home with the intention of murder and ended his life, while Jess and Tully were none the wiser. On November 26, 2017, Jess and Tully received a phone call informing them of their brother's tragic end. Today, Jess is here because he's being accused of allegedly hiring Mystic Garcia to do the dirty work for him. But he is not here because of his actions. He is here because of lies. Lies that were made by Mystic Garcia. Today, the prosecution's case is that Jess's actions ultimately led to the death of Declan O'Malley, but we, the defense, are here to prove that it was not Jess's actions, but Mystic's and Mystic's alone. Today, you'll hear from three eyewitnesses, the first being Tully O'Malley, the brother of both the deceased and the defendant. He will testify to information about the farmland. He will give Jess's alibi for the night of the murder, and he will give his own experience with Detective McGill. Next, you will hear from former lead Burley Police Department Detective Samir Slade. He will testify to Mystic's motive. He will give a critique about Magumbo's investigation, and he will give information about his investigation all the way back in 2017. And finally, you will hear from the defendant, Jess O'Malley himself, who willingly waived his Fifth Amendment right to testify here today because he knows he did nothing wrong, and he wants the jury to hear for themselves that he did nothing wrong. He will bring an end to Mystic's masterpiece of lies. Jess is Declan's brother, someone who he had grown up with and spent his entire life caring for. He will testify to the person he really is, instead of the person the prosecution wants you to believe he is. Now today, the prosecution has the burden of proof to bear in this trial. That means they must prove to you, beyond a reasonable doubt, that Jess O'Malley hired, aided, abetted, assisted, encouraged, and or facilitated the murder of Declan O'Malley and did so with intent. But the evidence will show that neither of these statements can be reasonably concluded from the prosecution's case. And by the end of this trial, if you have any question to Jess's involvement in Declan's murder, the law requires you to find him not guilty. Once again, Your Honors, and ladies and gentlemen of the jury, I implore you to look beyond the deceitful mask the prosecution is putting on here today to make my client seem responsible for actions that he did not take. And I ask that you look at the clear, concise, and undeniable facts that we, the defense, will bring here today that puts an end to Mystic's masterpiece of lies. And by the end of this trial, I ask that you find Jess O'Malley not guilty. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. Mr. Muchu, your first witness. Will you call?
Yes, Your Honor. The state would like to call Rowan McGee to the stand.
Rowan McGee, please report to the stand.
Your Honors, may I proceed?
Yes.
Good evening. Could you please introduce yourself to the court?
Hi, I'm Rowan McGee. Probably know me.
Ms. McGee, how exactly would one know you?
So I'm a podcaster, influencer, and news reporter from Cassia County, Burley, Idaho.
What skills do you have that help you within your line of work?
Well, I have what's called eidetic memory, which allows me to recall details in great accuracy. But I'm also curious, persistent, and detail-oriented with what I do.
Thank you. I'd like to ask, how are you involved in today's case?
I'm involved today because of my best friend, Declan O'Malley. We've been best friends since we were 5, and I was the one who found him.
Ms. McGee, what do you mean by found him?
We were supposed to go running that morning, like we always do, but Declan never showed. So I went to his house, knocked on his door, but there was no answer. So I went to the side of his house, which is where he kept his spare key, but that's where I found him dead.
I'm so sorry, Ms. McGee. How did you cope with your loss?
I was in a dark place for a while after losing Declan. So I created a podcast as a way to cope with my grief of losing my best friend.
How did this podcast help you?
So the podcast was about Declan's murder and how the case eventually went cold. But each episode followed my stages of grief, and for my last episode, I provided an update on Declan's case, which is where I received these tips about Coinbase, Bitcoin transactions, and an art company, Linus.
And so, what would you do with that information?
I shared all of this with Detective Magumbo.
Thank you, Ms. McGee. I'd like to ask, what do you know about the defendant today, Jesse O'Malley?
Jesse is one of Declan's brothers. I grew up around him and their other brother, Tully. Honestly, I felt like an extra O'Malley sibling.
When was the last time that you saw Mr. O'Malley?
It was the night of Maeve O'Malley's wake. Well, I did try to reach out to him for my podcast, but he replied with "bite me," so I took that as a no. So yeah, it was the wake.
I see. Ms. McGee, if you were to see Mr. O'Malley today, would you recognize him?
I would.
Could you please point him out for the court?
Yes, he's sitting over there at the end of the table with the red tie.
Thank you, Ms. McGee. Let the record reflect that the witness, Rowan McGee, has identified the defendant, Jesse O'Malley.
Could be so reflected.
Thank you, Your Honors. Ms. McGee, when was the last time that you, or since you knew both Declan and Jesse personally, how would you describe their relationship?
Honestly, Jesse and Declan often fought, and things were always tense between them.
What do you mean by tense?
Well, I mean that they fought a lot about the will, especially the night of their mother's wake.
How did Jesse react on that night?
Jesse was furious. He was yelling at Declan and even threatened him.
Ms. McGee, could you tell us what threats exactly?
Jesse said, "You are not going to do this to me again. You are taking more than your share of Mom's estate, and I need this money. You always get your way, but not this time. If I were you, I'd be scared because this won't end well for you."
Objection, Your Honor. Direct evidence.
Your response, Councilor?
Your Honor, I'd like to ask as to what grounds opposing counsel is referring to.
Your Honor, as they have stated that these are threats, Jess's threatening behavior is the character trait that I am objecting against.
Your Honor, under the same rule of character evidence of Rule 404, they could be permitted uses as to offering character evidence under the facts of motive or intent. And through these threats, we can clearly see that there was a motive that the defendant had against Declan O'Malley.
I'll overrule the objection.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, Your Honor. Ms. McGee, so after the matter of the week and those threats were given, what happened?
Things got so tense between Declan and Jesse that they couldn't even speak to each other without their attorney. I also noticed Jesse getting closer to this bartender at Doyle's.
Who was that bartender?
It was Mr. Garcia, and they always seemed to be having these private conversations.
Could you explain as to how exactly these conversations felt private to you?
Well, whenever I would try to go near the two, they would just stop talking and give me these odd, unwelcoming looks.
Thank you, Ms. Lee. I just have a couple more questions about Declan. When was the last time that you heard from him?
It was the night before he died. He left me a couple of voice messages.
If I were to show you a transcript of these voice messages, would you recognize them?
Yes, I would.
And do you remember the contents of the message that he sent you?
I do.
Your Honor, may I approach the clerk and retrieve what has been pre-marked as exhibit number 4?
You may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. Let the record reflect I'm showing opposing counsel what has been pre-marked as exhibit number 4. Your Honor, may I approach the witness?
You may.
Thank you, Your Honor. Ms. McGee, I'm now handing you what has been pre-marked as exhibit number 4. Could you tell us what this exhibit is?
So this is the transcripts of the 2 voice messages that Declan left me on November 25th, 2017.
And does the exhibit itself accurately reflect the messages you were given?
Yes.
Your Honor, at this time, the state would like to offer exhibit number 4 into evidence.
Any objection?
Yes, Your Honor. Hearsay.
Your response?
Your Honor, this could be admitted through a hearsay exception, specifically 2 that I'd like to raise. The first one I'd like to raise is the 803-3, which is then existing mental and emotional state. This could be under the fact that it's through the messages sent at 5:45 p.m. We can see Declan had an intent to meet and talk over dinner with Jesse O'Malley, which perfectly fits under the motive of intent or plan under the 803-3 rule. As for the other part of the 803-3 rule, it's through the 8:10 p.m. message that we can see he intended to also meet with Rowan McGee and to discuss what had happened on the night of their meeting. And then through the other rule that I'd like to raise as an exception, I'd like to raise 803-1, which is a present sense impression. It's through the messages at 8:10 p.m. where we can see that Mr. O'Malley, Declan O'Malley, had raised the fact that Jesse stormed out of the area, and immediately after he decided to alert Ms. McGee of this.
Your response, counsel?
Your Honor, hearsay is an out-of-court statement offered up for the truth of the matter asserted. Both these statements are out of court and are being taken for the truth of the matter asserted.
But he argues there's an exception to the rule. I'll overrule the objection.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Yeah, thank you.
Are we to assume that the exhibit has been admitted to evidence?
Yes, you may.
Thank you, Your Honor. Now, Ms. McGee, referring to the exhibit itself, could you tell us about the messages sent at November 25th, 2017 at 5:45 p.m.?
So Declan invited Jesse over to his estate to try and reach a compromise over dinner and to just work things out.
And what about the message sent at 8:10 p.m.?
It says, "Row, Declan again. Well, that didn't go well. Jess is so exhausting and won't budge on the estate. I don't think Jess is looking for a win-win, so I'm not sure what I'm going to do. Anyway, in true drama fashion, Jess stormed out of here a few minutes ago. I'll fill you in on the details tomorrow, assuming we're still on for a run. I'll meet you in the Oregon Trail parking lot at 8 tomorrow morning. I'm beat and going to bed. Talk soon.
Thank you, Ms. McGee. And just for my final question, so it's easier for the court to understand, could you summarize basically what the exhibit is?
So the two were supposed to meet over dinner. It didn't go well. Jess wouldn't reach a compromise, and for some reason, Declan was tired at 8 p.m.
Thank you, Ms. McGee. And Your Honor, I have no further questions at this time.
All right, cross-examination.
Your Honor, may I retrieve exhibit number 4 from the witness?
You may. Mr. Regis, your cross of Ms. McGee.
Yes, Your Honor. May I proceed?
You may proceed.
Good evening, Mrs. McGee.
Good evening.
Your podcast reached top 5% in most listened for the self-help category, correct?
It did after my last episode.
Thank you. And it also was downloaded over 5,000 times just in the first week, correct?
That's correct.
And you started your second season because of all the renewed interest in Declan's case, correct?
It became popular, so I did.
And that is because of the renewed interest, correct?
Yes, it became more popular.
Okay, thank you. And your podcast is financially beneficial for you, correct?
It's a podcast, so yes.
Okay, thank you. And your second season focuses on true crime, correct?
It did focus more on the true crime, yes.
And the true crime aspect that you're focusing on is because of tips and information you're giving to viewers, correct?
After my last episode, I did receive a few tips, which I shared with the police.
Thank you. I'm so sorry. You are broadcasting your tips and information on your podcast, correct?
After I shared it to the police and everything works out, I might be able to share it on my podcast.
Okay, thank you. And let me take you to my last line of questioning. You would agree that you are just here to tell what you uncovered, correct?
I'm here to find the answers over Declan's case that was never solved.
But you are here to tell what you uncovered, correct?
I'm here to talk about Declan and yes.
Okay, thank you. And would you also agree that you don't want any information about the case being released until you air your second season, correct?
Oh, I would just hate if another podcast would come in and spread false information about Declan.
But you do agree that you do not want any information about the case being released until you air your second season, correct?
Because I don't want any false information to get out, yes.
Thank you. And you would also agree that this case is beneficial for you financially, correct?
No, I mean, the podcast is a benefit, but it was not my intent. I created the podcast to cope with my grief.
Although it was not your intent, you still benefit, correct?
It's a podcast, I do, but again, it was not my purpose to do that. It was to cope with my grief of losing my best friend.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Your Honor, for the questions.
All right. Thank you. Prosecution, are you prepared for your next witness?
Yes, Your Honor. I have no redirect, so this witness may be excused.
You may be excused. Ms. McGee.
Ron McGee, please step down from the stand.
So will the prosecution please call your next witness, Ms. Alvarez?
Yes, Your Honors. The prosecution would like to call Mr. Garcia to the stand.
Mr. Garcia, please report to the stand.
Good evening. Could you please state your name for the record?
Hi, my name is Mr. Garcia.
And why are you here today?
Because the O'Malleys deserve closure. The truth about
sure that I was involved in his death.
But today, the defendant is Jesse. How are you involved in today's case?
I killed Declan O'Malley.
Did you act alone?
No,
Who else played a part in Declan O'Malley's death?
Jesse O'Malley.
Could you point him out for the jury today?
Yes, he's sitting right there at the edge of the table, wearing the red tie.
Your Honors, let the record reflect that Mystic Garcia has identified the defendant, Jesse O'Malley.
There's a lot of people in red ties.
Ms. Garcia, if you could please elaborate as to who you are identifying.
The one sitting at the far end of the table, the right.
Your Honors, let the record reflect that Mystic Garcia has identified the defendant, Jesse O'Malley.
The record will so reflect.
Thank you, Your Honors. So, how was Jesse involved in today's case?
Jesse was the one who hired me to kill his brother Declan for $150,000.
And with that, you said you were hired. Does that mean there was a plan?
Yes, there was Jesse's plan.
And when did Jesse approach you with this plan?
It was the night of Mabel Malley's wake on March 17th, 2017. Jesse had enough. He wanted me to kill Declan.
Why did you agree to this plan?
Because Jesse offered me $150,000.
And why was this money important to you?
Well, after living in Burley for so long and still being burdened by so much debt, I needed the money to support me and my daughter, Chloe.
Now, earlier you had mentioned Jesse's plan. Could you tell us more about that?
Yes, so first, Jesse told me to use this gun underneath this counter at Duenas to kill Declan. And then on the night of the murder itself, Jesse left a window open and put a sedative in Declan's
Objection, Your Honor, narrative.
Your response, Councilman?
Your Honors, I believe that the witness is doing the best to answer the question, and I believe that her response had not gone outside the scope of my question, and I ask that opposing counsel may elaborate on how she had gone outside the scope of my question.
We'll allow some flexibility, but maybe break up the questions.
Yes, Your Honors.
Thank you, Your Honor.
If you would like to finish your answer.
So on the night of the murder itself, on November 25th, 2017, Jess would leave a window open for me and put a sedative in Declan's drink so I could go in, kill Declan, and make it look like a failed robbery. To get the money I was promised, I had to get this job done.
And would you get this job done?
Yes.
So, would you receive the money?
Yes, but I didn't get it all at once.
And how would you receive this money?
Well, we set it up like we were just selling my art. Jess and a friend named Horace Butterscotch created this art business called The Finest Works the Art on a Bitcoin currency exchange site called Coinbase. And through that, I received my 12 payments. It was all to make Jess's deposits to me a lot less traceable.
I see. Your Honors, permission to retrieve Exhibit 8 from the clerk?
You may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honors. Let the record reflect that I am now showing opposing counsel Exhibit number 8. Your Honor's permission to approach the witness.
Yes.
Ms. Garcia, are you familiar with this document?
Yes, these are the receipts.
And how do you recognize this?
These are the receipts that me and Jess created to make it look like people were just buying my art. It's 2 of the 12 that I received.
And how often would you receive these?
Well, after these first 2 initial payments, I received them continuously every month.
So, would you say that this is a fair and accurate copy of those receipts?
I would.
Your Honors, the state moves to enter Exhibit 8 for evidence.
Any objection?
Yes, to hearsay.
Your Honors, if I may, I believe that these documents fall under hearsay exception to 8036, which would be regularly conducted activities. These receipts were made around the time of the payments that Mystic Garcia had received, coming from a company, The Finest Works the Art, which Mystic Garcia had testified to helping create, custodial knowledge and personal knowledge as to how these receipts would be created. More so, these receipts have been proven to be trustworthy, as testified by the witness that it was a fair and accurate copy.
Your response to it?
Yes, Your Honor, the defense doesn't argue that this is a regular conducted activity, but under 803-6, the custodian has to be in court here today and has to be the one to admit it into evidence. Mr. Garcia testified that Jesse O'Malley and a registered agent, Horace Butterscotch, was the one who created this company, and they would be the custodians of the receipt. Mr. Garcia is just the seller, just the artist on the receipt, and is not the custodian of the receipt.
Your Honors, if I may, I believe that Mr. Garcia does have custodial power in regards to the finest works of art. She had testified to also being part of the process of creating the company of the finest works of art.
She wasn't the one who prepared the receipts. She was listed as the artist on it. I will sustain that objection.
Yes, Your Honors.
Thank you, Your Honor.
So, earlier you spoke about not receiving your payments all at once. When were you to receive those payments?
In 2017, I received the first 2 payments. They equaled up to $25,000, and it was the perfect amount for me to pay off my daughter's medical bills at the time. And then after the initial 2 payments and after Declan's death, I would receive the other 10 payments up to December 2018.
Thank you, Ms. Garcia. Now, I'd like to talk more about the night of Declan's death on November 25th, 2017. What did you do first in accordance with Jesse's plan?
Well, at 11 p.m., as part of Jesse's plan, I would go in through the open window that Jess had left open for me, and I went upstairs to Declan's bedroom.
What did you do when you got to Declan's bedroom?
I shot at Declan, but I missed.
What happened after you had missed?
Declan woke up all groggy and furious. He lunged at me and we fell back into the TV room. At one point, he even tried shooting at me, but I knew I had to finish this plan.
Miss Garcia, how would you finish this plan?
I pushed Declan out the window. I killed him. I even checked to see if he was dead, and he was. So I went along with the plan, and I opened all the drawers and took everything out to make it look like the failed robbery that me and Jess planned it to look like. Then I would dispose of the gun behind the dumpster at Doyle's like Jess told me to.
Why did you dispose of the gun behind Doyle's?
Because Jess didn't want the gun to be inside the pub if ever the police searched it. He didn't want to get caught.
And did you get caught?
No.
And did you have any involvement with the police at all?
Yes, actually, the detective asked me about these bruises on my arms, but eventually everything blew over, like Jess assured me it would.
So, what happened after it all blew over?
Well, I finally got the money that I was promised, and I was able to finally keep me and my daughter Chloe afloat. After that, we were even able to move back to San Francisco to pursue my art career. I just couldn't have done it without Jess.
I see. Then how would your involvement come to light after all these years?
Well, after some time, I knew everything had to come out. So I decided to confess my entire part in murdering Declan and Jess's part in hiring me to murder Declan. After that, and telling the truth, I would get a plea deal.
And, Ms. Garcia, what was your reason behind wanting that plea deal?
I just wanted to tell the truth, to take responsibility, and give the O'Malleys the closure, the truth, and the peace that they deserve.
Thank you so much, Ms. Garcia. Your Honor, no further questions.
Cross-examination, Mr. Turbio.
Yes, Your Honor, may I proceed?
And you may.
Oh, sorry, Your Honor, before I proceed, may I confer with the timekeeper how much time we have left?
You have 16 minutes, 46 seconds.
Thank you. Good evening, Ms. Garcia. I just want to ask you a few questions about your testimony today. Now, we're not here to decide whether or not you killed Declan O'Malley because you already confessed to it. Is that right?
Yes, I confess the truth in killing Declan.
You struck a deal with the state.
After testifying today, yes.
And this deal would reduce your charges from first degree to second degree murder. Is that right?
After I told the truth, it would.
And part of this deal required you to testify against the defendant, Jesse James O'Malley.
Objection, Your Honor. Rule 403, prejudicial overprobative.
I'll overrule that objection. You may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. Ms. Garcia, I'll re-ask my question. Part of this deal requires you to testify against the defendant, Jesse O'Malley.
It requires me to testify the truth.
And the truth that Jesse supposedly had a part in Declan's death.
The truth that Jesse hired me to kill Declan.
Now, Ms. Garcia, you understand that your deal only works if you place responsibility onto Jesse, right?
It works if I told the truth, and the truth is that Jesse hired me to kill Declan. Yes.
So, if you came in here today and said that Jesse had nothing to do with it, your deal would just vanish, correct?
If I didn't tell the truth, it would, yes.
Thank you, Ms. Garcia. Now, let's talk about your interactions with Declan O'Malley. Your spouse, Chris, knew Declan back in high school, right?
Yes, he did.
And before your spouse, Chris, disappeared, you both actually ran into Declan O'Malley.
We would run into Declan at sometimes, at our time at Burley, yes.
And one of these run-ins, Chris said hi, but Declan just brushed him off, right?
He did.
And you knew that Declan had something against Chris, right?
At some point, I believe he did.
And you knew that Declan would say horrible things about Chris.
Sometimes he did, yes.
And it made your blood boil knowing that someone is talking about your spouse like that, Ms. Garcia.
It made me angry that Declan would say stuff about Chris and all the other people he insulted, yes.
Thank you, Ms. Garcia. Now, you testified that you worked at Doe's Farm, correct?
For 2 years I did, yes.
And Declan hired you?
He did.
And as an employer, Declan would spread rumors about you causing your spouse's disappearance.
He did, and at some point, yes.
And as an employer, he also accused you of stealing from the cash register at the bar, correct?
He did.
Thank you, Ms. Garcia. Now, you would agree that during this time of working at Doe's Bar, your dislike for Declan grew more and more. Is that right?
Well, I would say I did dislike Declan at some point, but that was such a long time ago.
Thank you, Ms. Garcia. Now, let me take you back to the wake of Maeve O'Malley. You worked this night, correct?
I did.
And obviously, you had a busy night because you received a $8,000 bar tab. Is that correct?
That night I was busy pouring drinks, pouring beer, and accommodating everyone, so yes, I was pretty busy.
And in your bartending experience, that would equate to about a $2,000 tip.
I believe so, yes.
But instead, you received a total of $0.
I did.
And you were disappointed because Declan didn't give you a tip. Is that right?
Initially, I was disappointed, yes.
Especially because you had $25,000 worth of medical expenses to pay.
Which is why I agreed to Jesse's plan, giving me $150,000.
Ms. Garcia, to clarify, that is a yes to my question?
Could you repeat the question?
You had $25,000 worth of medical expenses to pay at this time.
At this time, yes, and thankfully Jess gave me the money to
And
pay for that.
Sorry, you would agree that this was your final straw in killing Declan O'Malley?
It was my final straw to lead me into agreeing with Jess to accept his offer.
Thank you, Ms. Garcia. Now let's talk about the supposed plan that Jesse came up with. This was a months-long plan, correct?
It was, yes.
And one of Jesse's roles in this plan was to sedate Declan O'Malley, is that right?
He did, yes.
And another one of Jesse's roles in this plan was to pay you $150,000 to kill his own brother, is that right?
Yes, that was part of the plan.
But Ms. Garcia, you don't even know where Jesse could have gotten that money.
Well, I knew that Jesse came from a wealthy family and he had this inheritance coming up for him, so I didn't question it.
You didn't question that where Jesse could have gotten that money?
No.
So your testimony here today is that you knew where Jesse could have gotten that money?
I assumed he got it from his family.
So you assumed, Ms. Garcia?
Yes.
Thank you, Ms. Garcia. Now, another one of Jesse's roles was to tell you to use the gun at the bar to kill Declan, right?
Yes.
But you already knew where the gun was, is that right?
I did, but Jesse told me to use that gun on
You
him.
knew where the gun was because months before the murder, you found the gun yourself, is that right?
I did. I was a bartender there, and everyone knew where the gun was.
And you found the gun without Jesse telling you anything, is that right?
Yes, because it was for the employees of Doyle's to use, and we all knew where it was. I even asked Jess about it.
Thank you, Ms. Garcia. Now, let me take you back to the night you murdered Declan O'Malley. You carried that same gun that you found into Declan's house, correct?
The same gun that Jess told me.
And the same gun that you found, you brought it into Declan's room and you shot him, correct?
With the plan that Jesse gave me, yes,
But you missed the first shot, is that right?
I did.
But when you shot at him, he woke up immediately, is that right?
He woke up all groggy and furious.
In fact, he had the strength to even struggle with you and get the gun back from you, is that right?
He was groggy, as I said.
Is that a yes to my question, Ms. Garcia?
He had the strength to do so, but in doing so, he was still groggy.
And you claim that Jesse O'Malley gave Declan O'Malley a sedative?
He did.
But Ms. Garcia, you even had your own doubts on whether or not Jess gave a sedative in the first place.
I assumed that since it was hours after the sedative had been placed, that it had worn out.
But you had your own doubts on whether or not Jess even gave a sedative, is that right?
Initially, yes, but I just thought that it worn out because I came to Declan's house after hours of the sedative being placed.
Thank you, Ms. Garcia. Now, after you missed the first shot, you didn't just walk away, correct?
I had to complete the plan.
In fact, you struggled with Declan.
I did.
And because of the struggle, you received bruises on your face, is that right?
I did.
And you even told one of the detectives investigating in this case that these bruises were from carrying kegs of beer.
Well, I was trying to be discreet with me and Jess's plan, as part of the plan, so I did say that.
And after this struggle, you actually got the gun back and shot at Declan O'Malley, is that right?
I did, yes.
But this time you hit him in the shoulder?
Yes.
And after this, you pushed Declan out a window, is that right?
I wanted to go on with the plan of getting rid of Declan, so I did do that.
Now, Ms. Garcia, when you looked out that window, you saw a lifeless Declan O'Malley, is that right?
Yes, Declan was dead.
Ms. Garcia, one last question. No one else pushed Declan O'Malley out that window but you?
No, but I was given the plan to get rid of Declan, and I got that plan, and finished that plan, and I got the money thanks to the plan.
Ms. Garcia, just to clarify, you were the only one that pushed Declan O'Malley out that window that caused his death?
I did push Declan out the window
Thank
to
you.
get rid of Declan as part of the plan.
Thank you, Ms. Garcia. No further questions, Your Honor.
All right, thank you.
Your Honor, if I may briefly redirect.
You may.
Thank you, Your Honors. Ms. Garcia, earlier you were questioned about your plea deal. What are the agreements with that plea deal?
I have to tell the truth.
And what is the truth?
That Jesse was the one who came up with the plan. He was the one who came up with the murder. He told me to use the gun at Doyle's. He gave me the access to Declan's house, and he gave me the instructions to kill Declan.
Thank you so much, Ms. Garcia. Your Honors, no further questions.
Thank you.
Your Honors, if I may retreat please a bit.
You may.
Thank you, Your Honors.
Your Honor, may I recross?
You can recross.
May I proceed?
Yes.
Ms. Garcia, just one question. You only keep your reduced sentence if you place responsibility onto Jess, is that right?
I keep my reduced sentence if I tell the truth.
By placing responsibility onto Jess?
As it is the truth, yes.
Thank you, Ms. Garcia. No further questions.
Thank you. All right, you may step down.
Mr. Garcia, please step down from the stand.
Ms. Imbat, you have your next witness.
Yes, Your Honors, but before I proceed, may I request a time check?
You have 9 minutes and 35 seconds left.
Thank you, Your Honor. We would like to call Francis Magumbo to the stand.
Francis Magumbo, please report to the stand.
Your Honors, may I proceed?
You may proceed.
Good evening, Detective. Could you please introduce yourself to the court?
Salutations, my name is Detective Francis Magumbo. I'm currently a detective at the Major Crimes Unit at Twin Falls PD.
What are your current responsibilities?
Well, I've been at the Twin Falls for 30 years now, and I've investigated kidnappings, homicides, loan sharking, and even felony embezzlement.
And over those 30 years, how did your skills develop?
I received special training at Quantico a few years back and learned all about crime scene and criminal investigations.
which are the systematic processes of locating, documenting, and collecting evidence at any point in an investigation, as well as interview techniques.
What else did you receive training for?
Blockchain. Blockchain are the digital databases that record transactions made in and out of a Bitcoin site. When a user sells Bitcoin, it is converted into currency and withdrawn on a bank account. It usually helps me when dealing with stuff like illicit payments and white-collar crimes. In addition, I also receive courses specializing in advanced genetic forensics.
Could you explain what you mean by advanced genetic forensics?
No problem. So advanced genetic forensics is all about DNA testing, the type of genealogy research that uses certain data to identify biological relationships.
Thank you, Detective. Your Honors, the evidence demonstrates that Detective Francis Magumbo has the knowledge, training, experience, and skill to be deemed an expert in crime scene investigations, criminal investigations, blockchain, and forensics. We ask that she be recognized as such.
Counsel?
No objections, Your Honor.
She will be so certified as an expert that you may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honors. Now, Detective, talking about the case at hand, how did you first get involved?
I was first assigned to the case on November 26, 2017. I was briefed on the case and took a tour of the crime scene in Apache County, Burley, Idaho.
And what did you learn when you arrived at the scene?
That an adult man, Declan O'Malley, was found outside of his home dead with a bullet wound in his shoulder and his neck broken.
And what happened with this case in 2017?
Well, we had our potential theories, but the case was shut down due to a lack of reliable leads. However, I did receive a phone call a little more than 2 years later in regards to the case and getting it reopened.
And what was this phone call about?
The phone call was from a podcaster, Rowan McKee. She shared some information surrounding our company, The Finest, which had made cryptocurrency transfers to Coinbase from August 2000.
You were saying?
You have a response?
Yes, Your Honor. Under Rule 801 hearsay, it is a statement offered for the truth of the matter stated. What Detective Magumbo had offered was not a statement offered for the truth of the matter stated, rather the effect it had on her investigation. Due to hearing this phone call, she then prompted an open investigation into the Finest.
Mr. Ryder?
Your Honor, if I may, the detective is taking the statement for the truth of the matter asserted that transactions were made between Mystic and the Finest and Jesse. That is the statement being taken for the truth of the matter asserted and pursuant to Rule 801. Hearsay is an out-of-court statement being taken for the truth of the matter asserted.
I'll sustain the objection. You may rephrase the question and see if you can get it a different way.
Your Honor, may I
Yes,
ask
Your
that
Honor.
that previous answer be stricken from the record?
It'll be stricken.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Yes, Your Honor. Now, Detective, could you briefly generalize what this phone call was about?
It was a phone call about transactions made from an art company to a cryptocurrency company between August 2017 to December 2018, totaling $150,000.
Objection, Your Honor. I'd like to re-object to hearsay.
You may respond.
Your Honor, once again, the statement that Detective Francis Magumbo had provided is not offered for the truth of the matter stated. Rather, she is stating what she heard in the phone call, which then prompted her to open an investigation. This is not offered for the truth of the matter, but rather the effect it had on her investigation.
That was the same issue that was raised before, and I sustained that objection. I'll sustain it again.
Yes, Your Honor.
Your Honor, may we ask that that previous testimony be stricken from the
It'll be
record?
stricken.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Yes, Your Honor. Now, Detective, how did you start your investigation into the Finest?
Well, we opened an investigation into the Finest, and I was able to get hold of its corporate filings and financial records.
And would these corporate filings and records be in court with us today?
Yes.
Your Honor, permission to retrieve what has been marked for identification purposes as Exhibit 7.
You may.
Let the record reflect that I'm showing opposing counsel. And Your Honor, may I approach the witness. Now, Detective, can you identify this exhibit?
This is the incorporation document of the Finest.
And how are you familiar with this document?
I was able to access this document after looking through LaFinus' public records.
And would this be a fair and accurate copy?
Yes, it even has the stamp of Secretary of State.
Thank you, Detective. Your Honor, the state moves Exhibit 7 into evidence.
Any objection?
No objections, Your Honor.
All right, it'll be so moved.
Thank you, Your Honors. Now, Detective, what evidence did you find on this incorporation finding?
LaFinus was incorporated 5 months before Declan's death, and the registered service agent is Horace Butterscotch.
What did you do with this information?
I decided to look into Horace a little further and found Jesse as a connection, as they both did serve in the same organizations together, and Jesse even officiated Horace's wedding. LaFinus, despite being incorporated, seemed like a shell company put together by the both of them.
And how did you proceed with this case?
I would then subpoena Mystic's bank records, which revealed several deposits of the same amounts.
Your Honor, permission to retrieve what has been marked for identification purposes as Exhibit 9.
You may.
Let the record reflect that I'm showing opposing counsel. Now, Detective, can you identify this exhibit?
These are Mystic's bank statements from North California Bank and Trust.
And how are you familiar with this document?
I subpoenaed this document on May 11, 2023 as part of my investigation regarding the Bitcoin transactions. This information was transmitted to me right after I had requested it.
And would this be a fair and accurate copy?
Yes, it even has a signature of Martha Bix, the regional vice president of North California Bank and Trust. Her signature verified that these were accurate and regular transaction logs of Mr. Garcia.
Thank you, Detective. Your Honor, the state moves Exhibit 9 into evidence.
Any objection?
Yes, Your Honor. We would like to object to hearsay.
Your Honor, may I respond?
Yes.
Thank you, Your Honor. Now, this state exhibit falls under the hearsay exception 8036, regularly conducted activity. The detective did testify that this was a subpoena document, which was information transmitted and made around the time she requested it. And 2, this was a regularly conducted activity, as businesses do usually lock down transactions by account holders, which was seen by Mystic's transactions. In addition, to prove C, D, and E, under stipulation 3, all documents and exhibits have maintained proper chain of custody and has been maintained and has not been severed, therefore proving its authenticity and the custodian.
Mr. O'Connor, your response?
Your Honor, if I may, the document is not documents that Detective Magumbo subpoenaed. It's a letter replying to his subpoena with information. We're taking the statements in this letter for the truth of the matter asserted, and it does not fall under 8036, as the statements we're taking for the truth of the matter asserted are Mystic's bank records. This document was not made on or near the time these records were created. This document was made well after that time. Secondly, Detective Magumbo is not the custodian of this document. That would be Martha Vix, the sender.
But he subpoenaed the document, so I will overrule the objection.
Yes, Your Honor.
Are we to assume that exhibit is entered?
Yes.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Now, Detective, what evidence did you find on this exhibit?
Mr. Garcia has been continuously receiving payments of $12,500 from LaFinus from August 2017 to December 2018, amounting to $150,000.
Why did you find this significant?
Not only did these confirm the payments you mentioned, there were 2 transactions totaling $25,000 made before Declan's death in 2017, and 4 months after his death, the remaining 10 transactions totaling $125,000 were completed and continued in December 2018.
And with these payments, how did it help your conclusion into your investigation into LaFinus?
Well, LaFinus was a shell business, and these transactions were made through that shell business. So LaFinus appeared like a shell business where Jesse used a friend to facilitate $150,000 to Mr. Garcia, occurring around the time of Declan's murder.
And after investigating the finest, would you conduct any interviews?
Yes, I was able to interview both Jesse and Mystic. Since Jesse was connected to the finance transactions, they both voluntarily agreed to speak with me and even waive their rights.
And who did you interview first?
Jesse. I asked about the Bitcoin payments made to Mystic, and Jesse said that they didn't know anything about the finest, despite never mentioning the finest in front of them at all.
Now you also mentioned Mystic. How did her interview go?
A few questions in, Mystic admitted that it was Jesse who hired her to bill Declan, providing the instructions, gun, and access into Declan's home, claiming that it was Jesse who used the finest to facilitate the payments.
And based on your entire investigation, what can you conclude?
Throughout my investigation, evidence pointed to the defendant, Jesse O'Malley, being connected to the evidence. One being the gun, and the other being the finance transactions. There is a connection that the defendant facilitated a shell business through the finance. And through that shell business, Mr. Garcia would receive payments through Bitcoin.
Thank you, Detective. Your Honor, no further questions.
Thank you.
Your Honor, permission to retrieve the exhibits from the witness?
You may, unless Mr. O'Connor intends to ask her about them.
No, Your Honor.
You may retrieve them.
Thank you, Your Honors.
Cross, Mr. O'Connor.
Yes, Your Honor. Your Honor, may I proceed?
You may.
Now, Detective, regarding the initial investigation, you were not the lead investigator, correct?
Unfortunately not. I was only assigned to assist on the case in 2017.
Detective Slade was the lead investigator, correct?
Yes.
Now, Detective, I'd like to talk about your secondary investigation, the one you were the lead investigator on, correct?
If you're talking about the one in 2023, then yes.
So, you reopened this investigation with a number of factors, one of which was that the murder weapon was found, correct?
If you're talking about the gun found in O'Malley farmland, yes, it was recovered after it was found and buried in the pickleball.
And it was found on the portion of the O'Malley farmland that had been sold, correct?
After it was sold to an investor, it had been found, yes.
And you found a full fingerprint belonging to Mystic Garcia on this weapon, correct?
When the BPD dusted the gun for fingerprints, they did find a clean print from Mr. Garcia.
And you would have to touch the weapon to leave a fingerprint or DNA evidence, correct?
That is one way a fingerprint can be transmitted, yes.
As well as DNA evidence?
Yes.
And Detective, in Mystic's confession to you, Mystic told you that Declan got a hold of the gun in the struggle, correct?
Yes, although evidence in my investigation pointed to Jesse being the most likely suspect of the fingerprints.
But the fingerprints could be explained by that struggle, correct?
It could have been possibly, yes.
Now, Detective, I'd like to talk to you about the business of LaFinance Workstoker. Now, you reviewed the incorporation documents for LaFinance Workstoker, correct?
I did.
And Jesse's name appears nowhere in these documents, correct?
Not Jesse, but Horace Butterscotch, who he did create the shell company with.
And your evidence linking Jesse to this company is Horace Butterscotch, correct?
Not only the incorporation document, but Mystic's bank statements, which showed the payments which Jesse had facilitated through the finance.
Thank you, Detective. But you linked Jesse to this company through Horace Butterscotch, correct?
Initially, yes, but I did gather more evidence.
And you found this connection based on social connections you discovered online, correct?
Well, if a simple internet search would show their connection between the both of them, it would show that they were very close to create a shell company to facilitate payments.
But Detective, you discovered through an internet search that they were connected, correct?
An internet search would show their connection, yes.
And you believe them to be very close, correct?
They were very close. I found on a newspaper clipping that Jesse did officiate Horse's wedding in 2015.
Thank you, Detective. But in your interview with Jesse, he denied being very close with Horace, correct?
He said that they hadn't talked in a while, but Jesse never denied his relationship to Horace.
Thank you, Detective. But you never actually interviewed Horace Butterscotch, correct?
Unfortunately, he was unavailable at the time, so I wasn't able to interview him.
So, just to get this straight, Detective, you failed to interview the registered agent of the company you suspected was fraudulent, correct?
And again, he was unavailable at the time, so I wouldn't be able to conduct an interview even if I wanted to.
So you never conducted an interview, right?
No, but again,
Thank you, Detective. Now, I'd like to talk to you about Bitcoin transactions. Now, you discovered that Lafinis had made multiple transactions along the blockchain, correct?
Around 12 payments of $12,500.
And as an expert, you know that Bitcoin transactions are anonymous for both sender and receiver, correct?
With the way that Bitcoin works, it is unregulated, so you wouldn't be able to see who the sender was.
So they're anonymous, both sender and receiver, correct?
Yes, that is how Bitcoin works.
And the only way you're able to definitively link these transactions is with real-world matching data, correct?
Yes.
Such as bank statements.
Yes.
And you used Mystic's bank statements that you subpoenaed to link her to this crime, correct?
And again, these bank statements were from Lafinis, which I had confirmed was a shell company. And after confirming that it was a shell company, I needed to find out who was using that shell company to facilitate these payments, which was the defendant, Jesse O'Malley.
Thank you, Detective. But you didn't discover these payments were from Lafinis and Mystic subpoena. In the letter that Martha Vicks wrote to you, she says Coinbase, correct? These were Coinbase transactions, right?
Which are a type of cryptocurrency.
Thank you, Detective. Now, you subpoenaed Mystic's bank records, correct?
Yes.
But you never actually subpoenaed Jesse's bank records, correct?
No.
So you have no bank records for Jesse whatsoever, correct?
Since Jesse was not the artist, I did not subpoena his bank statements.
So you didn't subpoena Jesse's bank statements, even though that's a way you have to link these, you have to have bank statements to link the payments, correct?
And again, like you and I mentioned earlier, Bitcoin transactions are not regulated, which means that there would be no physical evidence showing any transactions in or out.
But you have physical evidence linking Mystic Garcia, correct?
Because again, she got the Bitcoin, exchanged it to currency, and withdrew it to her bank account.
Which you discovered through subpoenaing her bank statements, correct?
Yes.
And you did not subpoena Jesse's bank statements, right?
Again, because I wasn't able to, yes.
Thank you, Detective. So you linked Jesse to these untraceable, anonymous transactions without a single piece of his banking information, correct?
Not his banking information, but with information I got from my investigation on Lafinis and Mystic's relationship to Boris and Jesse.
And this information you gained was from Mystic's confession, correct?
No. I was able to gain this information even before the confession, as my evidence and my investigation was built off of multiple pieces of evidence.
The evidence like bank transactions from Mystic, right?
Yes, you're right about that. However, I also had the incorporation document which showed the relationship between Horace and Jesse.
But you had no evidence showing withdrawals from Jesse's account to Mystic or Coinbase, correct?
Unfortunately not. However, I did have evidence of Mystic Garcia's withdrawals from the Coinbase.
Thank you, Detective. Now, last thing is you never conducted an autopsy on the body of Declan O'Malley, correct?
Unfortunately, I am a detective and I am not a medical examiner, so I wasn't able to conduct the autopsy.
And you assumed that Declan was sedated because Mystic confessed to it, right?
That is what she had confessed in my interview, yes.
But you have no actual evidence that he was sedated, correct?
Again, I was only able to receive the information about the sedation through Mystic Garcia's formal interview with me, so no.
Thank you, Detective. No further questions, Your Honor.
Any?
Yes, Your Honor. Permission to redirect?
Yes, you may.
Before I proceed, may I request a time check?
You have 1 minute and 5 seconds remaining.
Your Honor, I would like to proceed.
You may.
Now, Detective, I would just like to ask one question. Why didn't you subpoena Jesse's bank records?
With the way that Bitcoin works, when currency is sold, it is only after it is sold that it is exchanged into a physical local currency and then withdrawn to a bank account. The receiver in this situation was Mystic Garcia, which is why it would show on her bank account since she withdrew it on her account.
Thank you, Detective. Your Honors, no further questions.
Any requests, Mr. O'Connor?
Yes, Your Honor. Now, Detective, blockchain transactions are anonymous, correct?
Yes.
And you link blockchain transactions to trace them by linking them with real-world transactions, correct?
Possibly, although since Bitcoin is a digital currency, it is hard to track physical transactions from digital transactions.
And it's hard to track Bitcoin because the payments are anonymous, correct?
Yes.
And Bitcoin costs money, correct?
Bitcoin is money. It is digital cryptocurrency.
To purchase Bitcoin, you would use US dollars, correct?
Possibly, although it is an international type of currency, so you would use multiple types of currency to buy Bitcoin.
And you would have to pay for this Bitcoin, correct? Through a service like Coinbase, right?
Yes, although again, it is anonymous, so you wouldn't exactly confirm who bought the Bitcoin. However, you can see it when it is withdrawn to a bank account, which is traceable.
But you can trace these payments for Bitcoin, correct?
You can trace it once it's been withdrawn, but it can be pretty hard when it's bought.
And you buy it, if you buy it, you would leave say, a withdrawal in your bank statement, correct?
Possibly, although again, you could also use physical money to buy Bitcoin, so yeah.
And you do not have a single piece of banking information from Jesse O'Malley because you did not subpoena Jesse O'Malley, correct?
Yes.
Thank you. No further questions, Your Honor.
All right. Thank you. The prosecution rests.
Yes, Your Honor. The prosecution has no further witnesses, and we rest our case.
All right. You may be excused, Detective.
Francis Magumbo, please step down from the stand.
Now that the prosecution has rested, the court will take a 5-minute break before we proceed with the defense's case in chief.